I am Timothy Heaney. I am a program manager on the Microsoft 365 Admin Center team. I'm the one that, we actually have quite a bit of us here from the team that have worked on all the things I'm going to show you today, but I'm the one that's lucky enough to be able to speak about it in front of you all. So I'm going to get to show off a bunch of new stuff that we've been delivering to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center experience. How many people have used the new Microsoft 365 Admin Center experience, meaning you've gone into the preview for it? You've flipped that toggle. Wow, most of you. How many people went back to the old version? Okay, a lot less of you. That's good. That's a good thing. And the numbers in this room that went back, it's actually a lot more of you went back than the typical numbers, but so far most customers that go to the preview end up staying there and liking it. So how many of you were in the Brad Anderson Mechanics, or saw the Brad Anderson Mechanics demo earlier? Not many of you, okay. So earlier he talked a lot about what the Microsoft 365 product is, a suite of products is. He talked about some of the initiatives we're doing in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center. Essentially, what we're doing is we're bringing together a bunch of different products that make logical sense to group together. So customers want to have their productivity with Office 365. They want to be able to, in that same area, in that same vein, be able to manage their Windows 10 devices and deploy their Windows 10 devices. And they want to have full capabilities of, enterprise mobility and security across that whole stack. So one of the things that we created a while back was the Microsoft 365 suite of products, bringing together all these disjointed things and making them one thing, because they shouldn't have been disjointed to begin with. So with the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, one of the things that we know is that there's many different kinds of admins. How many people in this crowd just have global admins in their organization and don't have any specialist admins like email or anything like that? So you have just global admins across the whole stack. That's a much larger number than I anticipated. I would venture to guess the reason why you have those global admins isn't really because they're responsible for everything. They're probably not responsible for email and SharePoint and Windows 10 management and all those things, but it's because of the lack of granularity within our roles and things like that. But one of the things we're trying to achieve is to make sure our admin center works and surfaces the right thing, regardless of the role the admin has in the environment, regardless of if they're a global admin, if they're a help desk user, if they are an email admin, a security admin, whatever they are, we're going to have a dashboard they're going to have a dashboard that is meaningful to them. The reason it's meaningful to them is, sure, we can use some of our intelligence to curate insights and all that stuff, and that definitely helps, but they're able to manipulate that dashboard in any way they want to make it their own. And I'll demo some of that in a little bit here. So this is what we heard, and this was what the reality was. There was 23 different admin centers. At one point, that number could grow and contract at will, but there was 23 different admin centers to manage that M365 stack. So we were like, okay, here's this wonderful M365 solution, and I hope you know how to use favorites in your browser, because there's a whole lot of different URLs you need to go to. So we talk about a unified experience. We need to have a unified management story as well. An example of when unifying the experience is even taking a pretty common scenario that was unintentionally but really complex with all those different admin centers. You have somebody who lost a device, right? They went on an Uber ride, they left it in the car, whatever it is, they lost their device, right? You need to now go and wipe that device, right? Reset things for that user, reset the passwords, wipe the device, all of that stuff. The old way meant you had to go to portal.azure.com to wipe the device, and you had to go to admin.microsoft.com or portal.office.com at that time to reset the password. That was a very common thing that you couldn't just do from the one admin experience. And if you think about that multiplied by all the different things you could do across the M365 suite, that's the type of thing that we're trying to simplify in this new experience. So we built it, we say we built it for IT teams. And what we really mean by that is we've taken the experiences and tried to curate the things on the dashboard, curate the options on the dashboard, surface the things that make sense across the M365 stack, trying to kind of break down those barriers between saying there has to be an Exchange admin, there has to be a Teams admin, and so on and so forth. Now you can have somebody that's responsible for, say, communications, right? Or IT decision makers may need different things. So giving the things that customers need in the admin experience. That's something that we've really tried to achieve with this new admin experience, and we're still driving new experiences to do that. Optimized for everyday efficiency. An example I just gave is one of those things. You want to go in, somebody lost a device, you don't have to go to 2 different admin centers, you can now do it from one. I'm going to show an example of how many clicks it takes to reset a user's password. It's one of the most common mundane tasks, and it just took too many darn clicks in the old experience. We've added shortcuts to just make it super easy for you. And then actionable insights. One of the things that we wanted to make sure we did with this new dashboard is we pumped in insights from across the M365 stack to not only keep you informed what's going on in your organization, but to also allow you to take action on those insights that you're seeing. So you could see, you'll see later, I'll show a card that shows risky users, risky sign-ins. So not only do we show that how many risky users and risky sign-ins you have over the past X days, we're also going to give you a button that allows you to go and remediate that or deep dive into that to understand where the risky sign-ins and all came from. So how did this work? We went from 23 different admin centers. We tried to make it look as confusing as possible with this diagram with different color arrows and different size circles, chaos, right? We went from that to one admin center with 7 workspaces. We tried to logically group these different admin experiences together into the way our customers work, okay? So that's the one admin experience where we're gonna surface most day-to-day tasks. And then if you need to deep dive into some of those areas, you certainly still can. And you could deep dive, say, into Intune to do some of your device management or security for the like. Even within these different experiences, you have something like security, right? When you think about security, you have things like Azure ATP, you have Office ATP, and you have Windows ATP. They all are a means to the same end, right? They're all about threats. There's a similar type of threat across those different types of endpoints. The management for those is separate, right? So you have to go to separate admin experiences again to manage each of those. So even though we've rationalized these things and we've tried to organize these things, we know we needed to do things to further improve that. One of the things, as an example, is taking these 3 things and creating something called Microsoft Advanced Threat Protection, kind of organizing those so you can do the management for those from one place. So again, it's all about taking those admin centers, making them logically organized, and then taking it a step further and making sure the things within those admin centers are logically organized as well. So, how many people are using the admin center? For those that don't know, of course, most of you seem to know could know how to get there, but it's admin.microsoft.com. If you still use the old URL, don't worry, we'll redirect you to admin.microsoft.com. We have about 2.8 million people using this on a monthly basis. There is a very high percentage of them are enterprise admins that come in to use the admin center as well. I'll go through it a little bit later, but we have people across specialist workspaces, people with all kinds of roles and permissions that come into this admin experience. About 17%, I think I said 16% earlier, that was an error, about 17% of admins in are using the preview experience. And as we saw from the room, most of you are staying there, so I appreciate that. We have awesome feedback from everybody in the admin experience. They basically all say it's really fast, good to use, and you saved my life. So that's pretty much the only feedback. Now, we get a lot of different feedback. Obviously, we put the good one on the board, but we do read and respond to every bit of feedback we get. So every customer that says we're allowed to contact them, we do via email to either get more information or let them know where the status is of that feedback. And it's what drove a lot of the engineering over the past 6 months, because we went with this, we released this dashboard at the last Ignite in September. Right after September, we actually released it, started releasing it that week. So that's when we went into preview. And we've spent the last 6 months essentially going through all the feedback and going through all the features we wanted to build and using feedback to help prioritize some of those features and capabilities to make sure that everything you talked about, everything you not complained about, but told us about, was integrated into the experience. And it's super enlightening hearing from everybody. So I encourage you that if you're in the admin center, hit that feedback button and say, just say, how's it going, Tim? And we'll respond back to that. So to talk about some of the changes that are coming, we kind of broke it up into 3 different categories. Changes based on feedback, changes, improved existing experiences, and new experiences. So changes based on feedback. We know we needed search in the admin center, but in the preview, we actually released it without search. And I'm pretty sure we were burned at the stake for this. This was like the #1 thing that people were like, how can I find anything without search? You guys are back to the Stone Age, bring search back. So we did it almost immediately. So that was one of the things that feedback, we knew we needed it, but feedback let us know that we needed to do it like really quickly. Managing licenses and apps. We made a decision at preview time to split up the management of licenses and apps into 2 different pivots within the user details card. And I can show you that in a little bit. But what we learned from feedback is that was actually a hard thing to adjust to, and it actually was the wrong decision. So what we did was we listened to your feedback. We merged them back together, and we did it in a slightly more intelligent way so that you still get some benefits from it over the old experience, but it is merged together in a more logical way. Exporting users. We had planned to export users, but we thought, that can come later. Turns out that was another one that could not come later. People needed to be able to export users. It's an easy thing, but we just we went ahead and reprioritized that to be at the top of our list. Adding users. So adding users is a new experience that we've added we now have a guided experience that allows you to go through and add user experience. We've added a bunch of new dashboard cards that I'll show you with a lot more data-rich dashboard cards. The thing to call out here is that in the old experience, one of the big challenges was we essentially created, for lack of better terms, we created a link farm. So you had a bunch of cards on the old dashboard, and they all had 2, 3, 4 links on them, and that's all it was. There was no insights or anything else. The new dashboard, all the cards that are coming, or most of the cards that are coming in, do have insights and a related action. We have a bunch of them coming in that have come in since preview. As an example, the DLP one landed on the dashboard since preview, and there's been others. Managing roles, we've reorganized the way we manage roles to make it more clear on how to assign roles. I'll show that in a demo. Some of the new experiences, groups management. So we had a kind of a separation between all the different group types, and we've made changes that we're releasing over the next couple weeks to the groups management experience to kind of bring those together, allow you to teamify groups and things like that all within one experience. We've updated the initial setup experience to make it more seamless, less friction, make it easier for you to onboard if you're a new customer. And we've also added a new setup experience that you can go to even if you're a mature customer. You're a customer that's been running for 3 years in the service. You might not be getting the most out of your service. You can go to this setup experience and essentially see all the a la carte things you can go do, like securing your tenant and so on and so forth. I'll show some of that in a minute. And support. I'm going to do a demo on support as well. Support has been honestly reimagined. It's one of those things that typically, you're not excited about going to support. I encourage you to run into a problem so that you can open a support case. I think you're going to really like the experience. So, So we kind of already talked about Build for IT Teams, so I don't think I need to elaborate on this too much. But essentially, Build for IT Teams, like I said, it's one of the core things we're going after. We're trying to make sure that this is the admin experience for all admins, specialists, global, help desk, all your admins. And the way you do that is you make sure that it's a dashboard that can be effective for all those different admin personalities and use cases. We have customers that log in from a ton of different countries, seat size, all the way from one-seaters on up through enterprise. You name the industry, we have those customers from those industries, and they all have different configurations. There is no two admins that are alike. There is no two organizations that are alike. And we have a very diverse use base on our experience. Some of the feedback we've gotten from them is that it's, if they're small businesses, it's too confusing. And it's extremely confusing for small businesses. For larger customers, they want a really dense, rich dashboard with actionable information. What we've learned is that, through experimentation, what we've learned is that if we lead with a really rich dashboard, whether you're an enterprise admin or a small business admin, you're not happy because you're getting a bunch of insights that are not relevant to you. So the more important thing is having the incredibly rich dashboard capabilities available and allowing you to curate that dashboard as you go. Those are the types of things that we want to promote and that have driven a higher satisfaction with our customers so far. So you'll start out with just a few cards in your dashboard if you're a new admin or a new tenant. And then as you use the experience, you'll be able to add more cards to your tenant. Sometimes they'll be automatically added if you do a recommendation. There's different ways of growing your dashboard to make it that rich dashboard that we're going to show here. So I'm going to demo some of the admin capabilities, some of the new dashboard stuff. If just for reference, the old dashboard experience looked like this. So for those that don't remember, like I mentioned, it was essentially cards with mostly static links. The only one that gave you an insight was a bit self-serving. It was the billing card. We gave you an insight on how much you owed, but outside of that, there wasn't much insights on the cards. We figured we need to go through and change that. All right, so this is the new admin.microsoft.com. One of the things that you immediately see when you come here, there's a couple things. One is the top of the page is because this tenant hasn't completed setup yet. So you'll notice the setup banner is there for them so they can go and complete setup. You can always dismiss that setup banner and have it remind you later. The rest of the dashboard, you'll notice a stark difference from what you just saw on the screen grab. You'll notice that we have insightful cards. Like as an example, the upper right-hand card, you'll see there's 8 flagged users and 2 risky sign-ins, okay? If you look at those, what that's telling you is that, you've had a user that signed in, in China and then 10 minutes later signed in Australia. When that happens, you know that that's pretty much impossible to do, so we have these risky sign-ins, risky users. We'll show you that on your dashboard. If you see that going up over time, you'll know you might want to take action on it. So you can click on the insight, get deeper action to understand it more, or you can click Edit Policies. If you didn't already have MFA configured, it would say View Recommendation, and you'd be able to, Recommended Settings, and you would be able to set the policy. An example of what something like that might look like is if you click on Assign Roles here. This is showing you have 11 global admins and so many Exchange admins. If you clicked on that, you can get an in-app experience to assign those roles. Real simple role assignment. Another thing you could do, so you don't start out with this many cards, but you can add various cards. So let's say you came here and you wanted to add additional cards, so you got additional insights. You can go to the Add Card menu, drag a card to your dashboard, drop the card on your dashboard, and now you have additional insights. So your dashboard can grow when you want it to grow, just by grabbing cards, dragging them to the dashboard. And if you wanted to edit the protections that were in place, you can go and do that. You get insights and you get action, okay? That's the mantra of kind of the new dashboard. The list of cards, even since GA, has grown tremendously. I think we had 4 at GA, and now we're way above that. You saw how many are on the dashboard and how many are in that list. And we have more coming. Even some of the ones you see here are coming in the next couple weeks. The next thing I wanted to show was the left nav. You'll notice that the left nav is a collapsed left navigation. There is a lot more items you could show in the left navigation. One of the ways to show it is to click Show All, which will show you the full list of things that are available to you in your left nav. The other way is to customize your left navigation. Sometimes things are important to you, so you want to go ahead and add them. So you can click on Customize the navigation. You can click on it 3 times like I did. Sorry. This is the risk of doing a live demo. Luckily, we're giving you a notification that's taking a long time. The idea is that you can customize your left navigation, and what it gives you is a list of things that you can go and choose that are essentially a list of these things that you see in your left navigation. I'm going to run the risk of refreshing my browser screen. The other bit I was going to show was some of the new settings experiences. One of the things that and I'll show it in a second, but one of the things we've tried to do in the settings experience is we've tried to make that new settings experience coherent as well, so that it looks like the rest of the admin experience, meaning we use the same list views that we have for add users and for the user list page, and it looks and feels like the rest of the admin experience. But we also did things like enhance the search capabilities so that you can just quickly do a quick search across the settings to find a setting that's relevant to you. All right, just to show you what the settings experience looks like. So if we come into, obviously these are comps, but if you come into the admin center and you were to click on edit your navigation in the left-hand side, what you'd see is a bunch of options where you can go and edit what shows up by default when you have show less in your navigation. The idea is not only the dashboard can you curate, you can also curate that left navigation, because an Exchange admin is not going to want the same things as a SharePoint admin or as an Intune admin. So you can go through and customize that left navigation to meet your needs. So you'd change your admin experience and you'd be able to see the left navigation show up. So I'm going to skip ahead in the slides now. Everyday efficiency. So I'm going to jump into some of the things we're doing for everyday efficiency. We have a common entry point that we have across the M365 stack, like I mentioned. We have the customizable dashboard, but we also have an improved user, device, and group management experience. And this is the key area where I think everyday efficiency shows off. Because when we talk about user management, there are many different aspects to user management. Sure, there's like creating a user, there's resetting a password. I gave some of those examples earlier, right? But one of the things that, some of the things that you can also do is you can do device management from the Microsoft Admin Center. You can wipe a device. You could do, like I said, Teams management through groups. That's coming in the next couple weeks. You could do things that are in other admin experiences, common tasks. You can surface them in the, we surface them in the new Admin Center, so you could do those things. And support. Support is one of those things that no matter where you're at in the admin experience, you may need help. You may be in the groups section having trouble with groups. You can click on support from there or get help from there, and you can go get support. Wherever you're at in the admin experience, it's always there for you. So that option is one of those key things that we showcase in the Admin Center all the time. Let me see if my dashboard's back up. All right, so this is our user list. Some of the key things here, some of the things that I think are key things, and I'm going to use the mouse to kind of point them out, but we have this command bar. So this command bar should be a familiar experience for For many customers, if you use SharePoint across the Microsoft services, if you're an end user of our products, you will notice that that command bar is common across our products. When you go through and if you take a look at that command bar, if I was to select a user in that command bar, one thing you'll notice is that command bar options do change, and you can edit and manipulate or we change the settings that are there so you can go and do quick actions like reset the password and take action on a user that makes sense. If you were to select multiple users, those options would again change to bulk actions. So that command bar is dynamic based on how many users selected and on which experience you're in. Once you're in once you click on a user, you then see the flyout like you see on the screen here for Claudette. In this flyout, you see a lot of the basic information that you're used to seeing in the user experience, but it's organized in a way, we call them pivots, but it's organized in a way that allows you to hopefully easily navigate through it. So you could see your device settings, you could see your license and apps, your mail, your OneDrive. You click on OneDrive, you can even get insights like how much OneDrive usage you have, things like that user has, things like that. Manage some of the sharing settings and so on and so forth. These things are so that you don't have to go to different admin centers again to do this management. You go to devices, you can see the list of devices and wipe those devices. So there's a whole bunch of easy to access everyday efficiency we've built in. And I think it's in a later slide, but I'm going to show it anyway. If I was to hover over this user, there would be a key that comes up, and it would be a quick action that allows you to reset the password. I'm going to check one more time to see if that is available. Let's see if it shows up. I think I can demo this. It's a lot easier to show it. Okay, so you see my user list here. Like I said, you have this command bar. If you select one user, your command bar changes. If you select another user, you'll see it change slightly to show you edit domains. If you hover over a user, you get a quick action to reset a password. So you don't even have to click on the user. You could just do those quick actions. There's also other quick actions you could do from within here. So you hit the ellipse, you can go in and see the other quick actions. There's this really intuitive things built into these user list experiences. You're going to see these user lists used throughout our admin experience. It's a common pattern that we're going to be using for devices and for groups and the like. Additional options you could do to the users are shown up here. Like I said, you can click on a user and a page flyout will come, which will give you all that information. You can go to licenses and apps and see how we've improved the licenses and apps experience. So you could see what licenses are assigned and see what apps are assigned, so you can kind of easily see what you're manipulating. OneDrive usage and all that is in there. The filters, so we have a bunch of common filters like licensed users, synced users, guest users, those types of things. But you can also create your own filters. So if you do a new filter, you can name your filter, and then you could do it by domain, by city, by all kinds of stuff, okay? So you create your own custom filters, and then once you create your own custom filter, let's just pick one that's already there. So I'll pick the Australia one. And once I click on that, I get the list of users that are in that country. I can then export the users, and it will take me to it says it's going to take a little while. Usually doesn't. We'll see. I promise you, I tested this like 6 times. Anyway, so you click the export users, and it'll export the user list for you. There's also, you could change your view from compact to normal. It'll allow you to see more or less users on the screen. One of the things that enterprises wanted was more users shown on the screen, so we have that capability as well. Bulk actions, I already kind of showed that. User details. So the next one would be create user. So if I click on add user, you'll see that there's a new wizard experience that comes out. Used to be just one kind of long list that you went through and kind of plucked in everything you wanted. Now it kind of organizes things. It lets you know what the settings are that you're going to have to do along the way. So if we do Perry, let's say we did Perry Clark, and we call him Perry C. You could say, let me choose my password, all the different settings you could pick for passwords. You then click next, you get license assignment in line, so you don't miss a step, and you can kind of take it in as you go. So I'm gonna pick this one. Actually, out of licenses. No, it wasn't. So let's just do it with no license. Click next. I could pick the roles that they want. And this is a pretty interesting thing with the roles. One of the things you'll notice is it's by default going to be just for user with no administrator rights. But unlike before where we just had a few roles listed, we've actually organized them a little bit now to make it easier to find the roles that you might want to assign to somebody. So it's organized by billing and by common specialist roles, trying to let you know which roles are most commonly used and to help you drive the right selection. So you give your admins the privileges they need, essentially the least privileges they need, so that they can still do their job. Then you get a summary. If you don't like anything you picked, you can go ahead and edit it, and then you finish the settings. And you get this wonderful notion that everything just turned green for you. So let's say, I know that you're not going to believe this, but sometimes people run into issues when using the admin center. Let's say you did run into issues. I'm actually going to use a click-through to show you some of the support experiences. Let's do this. Give me a second. So let me show you some of the different support experiences we built in. So if you were to go to the lower right-hand side of the screen, you're anywhere in the admin center, you go to the lower right-hand side of the screen, whenever you need help, you click on that turquoise button. I think it's turquoise, but anyway, that color button. Say need help. Whenever you do that, a need help experience shows up. You'll notice that there's an indicator on there. This one says unified support. If you were Premier support, it would say Premier support. It gives you an indicator of the type of support agreements that you have, so that you know that you're not going to some different support system than you're used to. You're going to go to the support system that you're supposed to get based on your tenant. So let's say you go in, and almost all queries start with how to do this, how to do that. Let's say you went with how to create a distribution list because of that automatic answer. It was the right one. Let's say you pick that. One of the things you'll notice is that you get an instant answer. So the instant answer would be the first option that shows up in the screen in that gray area. That instant answer is the one that we think is the most likely the right answer. However, if it's not the right answer, then you can go through some of the other options that are there for you, okay? Once you, on every screen, you'll notice there's a contact support button at the end, so if you don't want that self-help experience, you can go to contact support. Once you, if you were to type in something like mail went to a junk folder, in that case, what happens is we give you an inline diagnostic. So some of the things you type in, if you type in some proximity of junk and mail, you will get an inline diagnostic where you have the option to give us a little bit of information about the email that went to junk, and then we could see what you can do about it and give you an answer on how to solve that, if we have a diagnostic for it. You'll still have the option to go through any content, and you'll have the option to contact support if you were to scroll down a little bit on the page, which is there. So the other cool thing is, let's say you did say, I want to contact support. One of the coolest features I think we have is we have 3 different options for you to get contacted. One of them is by phone, and we'll give you an estimate of how long it's going to be till you get your call back. So it can feel a lot like Uber. You order an Uber and you could just stare at your phone waiting for that call back. The other option is you could schedule a call back. Like if I was to see an issue in my admin experience today, I'm not going to be home until Sunday. I can go ahead and schedule that for Sunday afternoon. I can give an explicit time, and I can get the call back at that time. To me, that is like a truly awesome experience to be able to just decide when you get the call back. And the other one is, I don't like humans. I like to sit in my office and not talk to anyone. I just want an email response. We're okay if you don't like humans, okay? We'll help you in an inhumane way. Okay, so if you were going to go through the scheduling, you would pick the day, you'd pick the hour, and you would get a call back during that hour, like I explained. If you went to the service request, you would actually be able to track the experience within the service request. Has it been assigned to an engineer? Those types of things. You would also be able to edit the service request so that you could say, you know what, Sunday doesn't work for me anymore. I have dinner plans now. I'm going to do it for Monday. You can edit that so that you get called back during that time. When you go through, the other thing to call out that I think I missed that you can call out when you go through creating the support ticket is you can set your severity level. Now, when you set the severity level, that we do treat those differently as far as how the response times and things like that. We treat it with the same level of intensity that you would want us to, right? That you would expect us to. So you can set your critical level. If it's critical, but only till 5 p.m., you can then go back in and edit it and make it not critical anymore. If it's not critical after 5, it probably shouldn't have been critical to begin with, but all good. Like I said, the critical bit, you can go ahead and set the criticality of it. The other thing you could do is you can go in and view the request history. The request details. So what that allows you to do is see all the communications that's happened between you and the support agents and in the background. So you can actually understand what's been happening with your support case. So you get all the details, you get all the email communications. Once you go through, you could also look at the history, ticket history. So if you were to click up here, you would view the ticket history. When you view the ticket history, you'll see 13 months worth of ticket history. So you'll be able to go back, look at all the stuff you've had over the past 13 months. If you don't like the digital way of doing things, you can export it so that you can have it in a CSV and do whatever you want with that data. But you basically can get 13 months of history. You can rate us if there is a support case that's been closed. So you'll get a experience that allows you to like I said, rate us. Did we solve it to your satisfaction? Just like in the admin center and the help experiences, we also go through the feedback to make sure that we are not missing the mark. I really think that this is one of the, if you go to a support experience, it's usually not the highlight of an experience, of an admin center. And the thing that led you to go support probably isn't the highlight. But if you do have to go through a support experience, I truly believe that ours is one of the best in the industry, if not the best. The Microsoft 365 Admin mobile app is coming soon. It's coming soon, and it's not just a rebrand of our existing app, although the title of our existing app is changing from Office 365 to Microsoft 365. But we're adding additional capabilities, again, to be in that spirit of Microsoft 365, which is things like being able to manage certain device aspects, things like everyday efficiency. All the mantras we've talked about, we're adding into the M365 Admin app. So it'll be available on the iOS and Android stores, obviously. That you could do things like manage users. Like the things you could do with user management is add a user, remove a user, assign licenses, reset passwords. Again, the most common tasks. You could do things like, some of the new things you could do is manage mobile devices. So you could, again, if that person left their phone in the car or whatever, you can reset their device and remove company data from the device. You can do that from your mobile app. So don't have to pull out the computer anymore. And honestly, this is the one that this is the feature that most people use the mobile app for. They use it for staying informed with Message Center and Service Health. We got this feedback at the last Ignite. We've heard this feedback before. People download and install the mobile apps so they can be in the know of what's going on with their service. It has alerting capabilities and all that stuff to keep you informed of issues with your tenant. And of course, you can create a support case because we've integrated that, like I said, through the admin experiences, extending it to mobile as well. Groups management. Many people use the Office 365 groups. How many people use Teams? Cool. Good amount. How many people use Yammer? Don't be shy. Okay. I saw half hands. I'm like, I don't know what that means. All right, so I mean, the way we kind of articulate it is there's an inner loop, an outer loop, and an email, and email. So there's three different kind of core ways to collaborate. We typically see the outer loop or the broader communications is something you do over Yammer. The kind of the inner loop or project-based work happens typically over Teams, and then the individual, very targeted communications happen over email. This is the evolution of it. Some people definitely still do broad communications over email, and that's fine. But I know personally, started using Teams a whole lot more, and my usage of email went way down. Doesn't mean my productivity went down. It just means I changed the way I work now. And it has made, I believe it has made our team more efficient in general. The Office 365 Groups is essentially a single entity that allows you to take the functionality, get the functionality of Teams, Yammer, Outlook, Planner, all these things integrated into it. It's centrally managed, so it's one place you get one place to manage all these groups, and you could do that from the M365 admin experience. And it's extensible. Everything we use in our admin experience to actually do the groups management is done via the Graph API. And what that means is that anybody can use that same API and do the same functions we're doing. We're not doing any voodoo magic. We're just using the extensibility that we built into our APIs, and we're using that API for our management experiences. No other additional things under the hood. To give you an idea of what the groups management looks like, this is something that's shipping in the next few weeks. It's going to be rolling out, starting a rollout in the next few weeks. You might not see it for a little bit, but it should be coming very soon. You'll notice that there's a lot of similarities between this and the user list. The idea is to make things feel the same when you go to different areas so that you don't have to learn a new way to deal with an admin experience. So if you come to the group section, you'll notice that there's all these different columns. There's the same action bar. You can create a group. One of the things that I think is super cool is that when you go into a group, you can actually see that there's a Microsoft Teams pivot. And one of the things that allows you to do is actually teamify a group. So you can add Teams capabilities to a group right from here. You don't have to go to separate places to do that. It's all about organizing your groups in one place. You can see that in the list, there's security groups, there's public groups, there's teams, there's all kinds of different groups in there. And they're all listed together. Obviously, filtering capabilities will allow you to filter what you see. Similar to the user list, we have filtering capabilities that will allow you to kind of see the specific groups you want. You'll have Teams enablement, like I said, built right on in to the groups management experience. It's going to confirm, going to create a team. And then once it creates the team, you'll get the response that lets you know it successfully created that team. The idea is, though, that you're going to be able to have this unified experience for groups management as well, and that's coming very soon. Actionable intelligence is another core thing we talked about at the beginning. How many people have seen a recommendation on their dashboard in the preview experience? Okay, about 10%. So we have these new things called recommendations, and what they are is essentially what you see on the screen here. So we'll detect in your environment that you've got DLP, or you've got sensitive information that has like social security numbers and credit cards and so on and so forth in your environment, but you don't have DLP configured. So you don't have data loss prevention configured. So in order to address that, we actually say, hey, you got the sensitive info, you might want to do something about it. So we're using insights that we know about you, and we're telling you what you should go and do about it. Again, giving you the action tied with the insight. We're also taking up the top portion of the admin center, so hopefully you don't miss the darn thing, okay? Once you click on View Recommendation, you then get a flyout that allows you to customize things. We have a default set to the things that we think you'd want, but you can always manage and manipulate specific things. Once you do that, you click Create Policy. That will create the policy and automatically pin a card to your dashboard so that you can further monitor it as you go to make sure that your sensitive data is protected, know how many pieces of sensitive data are in your organization, and so on and so forth. The new setup experience. One of the challenges that we've had with M365, so what customers say is, I bought Microsoft 365 and I have no idea what to do next. There are too many places to learn about features. People learn about it coming to these conferences. They learn about it on YouTube. They learn about it at docs.microsoft.com. There's so many places people learn about new information. They ask, how do I make myself more productive or more secure? There's all kinds of different questions people ask, and it's about how do they get the most value out of the service. They don't know what to do next. We could do things like recommendations all the time, but the challenge with that is, when you have a recommendation, that's because you have sensitive information that's unprotected. Well, technically, that's a little too late, right? You'd like to have the protection in place before you have sensitive information out there. You'd like to have your devices protected before they connect, right? Like to have the protections in place so that when they connect, they are protected. So whether you're a new customer or an existing customer, it's super important to know what value you're not getting or what value you can be getting out of the service to be more productive or to be more secure. So we have this new experience where there's kind of three things that we try to walk you through. We try to give you a place where you can discover new capabilities. We give you a place, in that same place you can learn about the capabilities, and then you can act on it. So this is something that's going to be released in the next couple weeks as well in the new admin experience. And this is a mock of what it looks like. I could show you a live demo, but that hasn't gone well for me today, so I'm going to stick with mocks for this. You'll notice at the top of the screen, this is an experience where the customer hasn't finished a core setup task of like adding users and adding a domain. If you had done that, that gray bar wouldn't be there. But if you haven't done that yet, you'll get that. You'll notice that there is the notion of, let's see if I can find my mouse here. You'll notice that there's the notion of solutions, and then there's these other pivots that look like specialist areas. They look like specialist areas because they are specialist areas. So we start out with solutions, and a solution is kind of like a curated set of things that could be across the M365 stack that would be relevant to you. So if you're a security admin, you might see one that says protect data and devices, okay? And that will allow you to see things like turning on multi-factor authentication, turning on DLP, putting mobile app protection in place, and the different things you need to do to secure your tenant, right? So there might be another one, data governance, if you're a compliance officer. There might be another one for productivity, collaborate more intelligently or whatever, right? There's all these different things, collections that we can surface to customers, and we're gonna put them in this onboarding experience that you can discover the different things that are available to you. Once you do discover one, let's say you clicked on make my sign-in more secure, so that's the multi-factor authentication one. What would happen is you would get a page that is allows you to see, how many risky sign-ins, risky users you have. So we have an insight up there on the upper right. We have at a glance what the value would be of turning this on. So you could improve your secure score by X. You can be GDPR compliant, all that. We have the user impact. So if there is any user impact to turning it on, like let's say it was device enrollment or something. The user impact for device enrollment would be they'd have to go through, download the app, and they go through a few steps the next time they logged on. For MFA, they'd have to set up a PIN the next time they connect, right? So there's they have to go through that those actions. So you'd want to make sure the impact was clear to the customer. There's also this notion of get started, which is the core call to action on the page. And what that does is it allows you to go into a common experience so you can go through an enablement process. So if you look at, what happens when you click on get started, it will bring out a flyout or an experience that will allow you to enable that MFA capability. It'll walk you through the wizard, which looks a lot like the wizard that you saw for add user earlier. And then you'll go through completion. At the end, it'll let you know you did a great job. Here's a trophy. You just upgraded your secure score by X%. The other thing we're building into it, I'm going to go back 2 slides, next to the get started, we are working on how do we make this something that we can share with others. So we want to make sure we build an experience that you can actually say, you know what, I'm not the person that takes the action. Maybe I'm the IT decision maker. So I see this recommendation. I want to get it to the person that's supposed to take the action. So you can share it with that person. So it's all about making sure that you can collaborate about these features as well. And we're working on trying to make that more seamless. That will not be shipped in the next couple of weeks. The setup experience will, but not the sharing feature. So point being, we built an admin experience for a ton of different admins. We've consolidated it, brought all your everyday efficiencies into the admin experience to make you more efficient admins. You're going to have a rich dashboard that keeps you informed, and you should never demo live. If you liked what you saw, give feedback on the session. If you didn't, just go grab a lunch. Give us feedback. We read. You can say whatever you want in the recording. Give us feedback, though. We do read every bit of feedback. We will respond. We'll be super polite, even if you're not. So just give us feedback. And I do thank everybody for your time today.